Hi, I'm Rachel Tucker. Here we are at the lovely Bridge House Theatre, and I am having tea with Wilma. The Bridge House Theatre began about 2 years ago. My husband Guy Ritalik and I wanted something outside our day jobs. I put it that way. We wanted to have something that was our own, to create new work in, to get the local people where we live nearby excited in theatre. I just had a love to want to do something other than, a show every single night, Guy going in to direct a show. And we found this gem of a pub, a building. Came in and asked the guys, were they interested in any theatre above their pub? And they almost bit our arm off. They couldn't quite believe that Guy and I walked in. And it has just, ever since, just went so amazingly from strength to strength. And we're so lucky to have came across this, like on our doorstep. Guy and I would be co-founding artistic directors. I would say Guy would take more of that lead than I would. I would be involved in, we were involved from the very beginning, so we've created the atmosphere. I'm very much a part of every decision that's made. Of course, a lot of it has been my decision. The equipment, down to what production we might do next, which we're still very much at the beginning of. So, I'm absolutely, 100% involved in what goes on in the theatre, the comedy nights, the cabarets. I've had a lot of friends of mine from the West End coming and doing cabarets here, which has been, amazing. I think what has surprised me most is the absolute amount of dedication that you need to run your own venue. Guy and I, we were a little bit wet behind the ears, let's put it that way, when we began, and we have had to learn very, very quickly about what it takes to actually make things happen at a venue and make it happen well. We're still learning. We've still learning curves, but at the same time, when we get it right, which we have done, it's the most amazing feeling that we have created this from scratch. It's our baby, besides Benjamin, of course. But it's a beautiful feeling that we have created. We really have made this happen on a shoestring. But that's what fringe theatre is all about, and that's what we want to aim for, the top of fringe theatre. We really want to make it more than that. We want to make it the National Theatre of Penge. We have had, I think, a great mixture of locals have really taken to having a theatre on their doorstep, being local. They've really embraced having Shakespeare here above the pub. Also, we had Christmas Carol at Christmas, which they absolutely loved. But because of maybe my fan base, they have been more willing to come in from town or from all over London to come and see what is going on here. What is Rachel Tucker, Guy Ritalik and Daniel Krupnik devising at the Bridge House Theatre. And we really are going from strength to strength because of our people that have supported us from all over London and I have to say, the country. Guy, my husband, is a director, and he has never directed Macbeth before. He loves Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare too. I've never been involved in Shakespeare, so Guy's more open to it, more involved in it than I would be. And it was a passion of his. He convinced us that Macbeth would be a great first production, full-length production to do at the Bridge House. It's a dark piece, let's put it that way. Lots of blood and murder going on in it, but it's intense and very theatrical, and I think beautifully directed. And we thought, let's start as we mean to go on, which is taking ourselves quite seriously upstairs above a pub. There is a modern slant on it, but not by forcing it, we just wanted it to become organically a newness to it, and it did, just with a young new cast. The design on it is probably the biggest twist on it. Quite modern day clothes, quite strong design, and I think it really works. You're not losing the text, you're not losing the Shakespearean verse, but you're having a lovely visual, you know, of modernness. It's great. We have been extremely fortunate to come across a wonderful new producer called Daniel Krupnik, who I met when I was doing a play that I did at the Southwark Playhouse called Farragut North, and he has came on board and really give us the helping hand life that we need to actually bring the theatre to the next level. And Danny very kindly is going to nurse it, cradle our little venue, our baby, look after it whilst we're overseas in America. But under the eyeful watch of myself and Guy through multimedia, through the land of the internet, through Skype and Facebook, FaceTime and stuff. So we will definitely be holding each other's hand, I think, with a venue. And, you know, we can talk, we can make things happen, you know, from America to here, you know, just through the phone. And, you know, talking's a great thing. So lots of ideas happening coming up for this year. Again, as I said, taking a year off from having been, and lots of auditions coming in, not getting them, and this was another audition. In fact, I was doing Farragut North, Southwark Playhouse, another audition, Sting musical, very interesting, original music, and a couple of auditions, and I met Sting. I sang in front of Sting and I couldn't quite believe it, and then they flew me to New York for my final audition, which was absolutely petrifying, but got through it. And yeah, so I'm involved in this new Sting musical called The Last Ship, and it's very exciting. It opens in Chicago for about 7 weeks, and we have a month off in August and come back here to London to take a breath, I'm sure, and then to start a year's contract from September on Broadway. So it's very exciting. The Last Ship is a semi-biographical musical based in Newcastle, Geordieman, where Sting is from. Believe it or not, lots of people think Sting's American. He's actually a Geordie. So it's based around where he was brought up, Wales End, and the Docklands, the ships, the kind of the union, the breakdown of the unions. So I play the character of Meg Dawson, and she is a young working class mother who lives in Newcastle with a 14-year-old son. This came about, she had a young sweetheart who plays the lead. Michael Esper is playing the lead. Their love's young dream, and he promises to come back for her. He wants to go off and see the world, and she won't leave where she's from, and he promises to come back for her, and 14 years later he appears on the doorstep, and she's extremely cross with his son, a 14-year-old boy. And that's the love interest, that's the story of my love interest with Michael's character. And they all get together to build this final ship, the last ship before they, you know, completely ruin these guys' families' lives, which happened all over the country. But we're focusing on Newcastle because that's where Sting was from. And I believe, from what I've researched on this, is that I think Sting's father was very adamant that he stayed at home, and, you know, he followed in his father's footsteps, and he was the guy that wanted to get out of there, see a bigger world. And I think that's where the story is semi-biographical. With Sting, he goes off and finds a new world. I was on tour with a musical. I won't mention it because it might be too obvious, but we were ensemble, stroke understudies, and we were doing lots of upstage acting in the background, and someone from the cast just so happened to pull someone else's wig off, and someone else ducked behind a shutter, putting her wig on, and popped back up with it completely on, upside down, back to front, and ducked down again, and quite literally weed herself on stage with laughter. I swear it wasn't me. And he thinks the lady does protest. I swear it wasn't me. But it has to be. I dine out on this story quite regularly. The funniest time of absolute chaos that went on stage. So the people that were on the following scene had to actually mop up my friend's wee. Well, whilst my quite long stint at Wicked, there's been a few mishaps. Holidays, I love a holiday, but when I come back, my brain doesn't quite realise we're back, so words sometimes don't happen, and it's not brilliant when you're on stage playing the lead. So I have quite literally forgotten chunks of script that I'm supposed to be saying, and the lovely Gina Beck very kindly helped me out in our scene during Popular one time when I just completely forgot where I was. I thought I was still on a beach. So they're quite daunting times coming back from a holiday. And the spells, of course, I made quite a few spells up myself. Yeah, that's happened. So a few mishaps. Wilma from Chicago. I love the name Wilma for a pet. That would be for a cat. Wilma the cat. Come along, support us at the New Bridge House Theatre. Macbeth runs until 19th of April. Tickets available online, just along there. If you can get that, or telephone number we can give, or the Twitter name. So please follow, come support our local theatre here in Penge.